Good afternoon. Sorry we're running a little bit late. We had some technical issues. I'm Sandy Ratliff. I'm with the Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity. I'm one of the partners in this new knowledge series that we do here every Wednesday at the Virginia Highlands Small Business Incubator. This is a collaborative effort with the Virginia Highlands Small Business Incubator, the Chamber of Commerce, and Virginia Highlands Community College Workforce Development. I'm excited about this because in my work I'm always out doing PR for our agency and the services that we offer. So I really appreciate Robbie and Emery from the Corporate Image for leading this session. And for those of you that are viewing online, if you have questions, jot those down to me in chat and I will relay this on to our speakers. So I'm going to turn it over to Robbie and Emery.
Very good. All right, well, thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity to be here with you this afternoon. And some basic introductions. So as Sandy pointed out, I'm Robbie Phillips. A little bit about my background. I'm from this area. I attended Virginia Highlands, a business administration degree, and then also transferred to Radford University, where I received my master's in corporate and professional communications, concentration in PR. I am and where I'm from, and Emery, I'll let you introduce yourself.
I'm Emery French, and I'm the Director of Strategy at the Corporate Image. My background is I'm a native of New Hampshire and attended the University of New Hampshire, obtained an English degree, and later went on for my master's in journalism and mass communications with an emphasis, again, in public relations.
Image, we've been around since 1993, so almost 25 years. It was founded by John Lundberg, so if you're familiar, if you've been in this market for a while, John used to be with WCYB as a news anchor for several years. He founded the company in 93. And so we're a strategic media and public relations company. And when we look at media and PR, the Corporate Image focuses on primarily on that. We talk about media relations, media outreach, being your earned media, your free media that you're not paying for, like marketing and advertising. So that's where, of course, the media are writing about you, they're reporting about you, they're interviewing you. You're depending on the media to tell your story for you. And that goes a long way in building that third-party credibility on behalf of your organization, the company that you represent. So, and we like to refer to it as building your bank of goodwill. And what we mean by that is, as we all know, unfortunately, at some point in time, your company, your organization will most likely experience some type of crisis situation that could be a negative. And we look at it, if you build up your bank of positive goodwill, then when that does happen, that when you do take that negative hit, it doesn't deplete your account. Okay? So because folks are used to reading about you and hearing about you on an ongoing basis in a positive light. So that's why we think it's really important to be proactive in doing that. As we look at our company philosophy, it's what people think depends on what they hear, see, or read. For those of you here and those of you watching online, I'm sure that we have all heard of Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, President Obama.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of him. But I would venture to guess that chances are there isn't a single person in our audience today who has met those folks individually, one-on-one, at a face-to-face. However, we all have impressions that we have formed. We all have perceptions about those individuals, and it's based on what we have taken in through the media, what we see in TV coverage, what we have read in the newspapers, what we've read online, what we've heard on radio, what we've taken in through social media, obviously. So again, our impressions, our perceptions of those folks are filtered by the media and what we consume on a daily basis. As we look at, so again, that's we're taking a 50,000 foot view as we look at PR versus marketing and advertising. With marketing and advertising, you obviously have a number of channels available to promote to your product, your company, your service, your brand. And you see here from newspaper, TV, cable advertising, radio, outdoor, billboard, internet, mobile, direct mail, social media, literally hundreds of options. So you have a wide-ranging set of tools in your toolkit that you could use to promote your company. Hundreds of choices, and there is no one-size-fits-all canned approach. And the reason is because we all consume our messages in a variety of ways. You know, what is most effective for Anne Marie might not be the most effective way to target me and to reach me with that message, and vice versa. So that's why it's not a one-size-fits-all canned approach, but it's not just taking one of these things as well. It's a combination. You like to spread it out in terms of how you're reaching your various audiences. So again, that's just a quick 50,000 foot view overview of the differences between PR and marketing. So now we'll move forward into why we're here today, now that we've got through that, and look at creating a PR strategy. And Anne Marie will talk about public relations and what that is.
So public relations, this is pulled from the Public Relations Society of America, which is the world's largest organization for public relations professionals. And what they define as public relations is a strategic communication process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between organizations and their publics. And that sounds pretty simple and easy. But first we need to define what our public is. And public or audience, they're often used interchangeably. Public is anyone who has or who might form an opinion about your organization, your business, which makes you think, oh, that's everyone, that's everybody. But everybody is not your audience. You're going to have multiple audiences, but not everybody is going to be a suitable audience for you. And it just depends on what your business, what your organization is about. You're going to have a primary audience, you're going to have a secondary audience, you may even have third, fourth, fifth groups of audiences. But you need to identify who those groups of people are and what's important to them and what their concerns are about your business and how you interact with them and how you interact with the general public. So you want to make sure that you know who your audiences are and what their concerns are and what their interests are as it relates to your specific business. So communications. There's good communication and there's bad communication. The bad communication, everybody sees it, they know it when they see it, because it's typically ineffective, it's unclear, imprecise, forgettable, laughable. You see it all the time. A lot of times it's misspellings. We've seen businesses, we saw a restaurant that had a sign on their door that said they were closed because they ran out of meat, and meat is misspelled with 2 E's rather than M-E-A-T, or the language, it's not a good sentence structure. That instead of saying something about, out of gas, it says, we ain't got no gas. So that puts off it gets the message across that there's no gas, but it also gives a less than positive impression for people. So we have an example here of what we would consider a bad piece of communication, and you may all have seen, you likely have seen this before. It's from the 2010 oil spill, and it was the CEO of BP when he was asked about Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry about that. Well. Okay. So, at any rate, what
what this particular piece said is it was talking about, you know, what he's doing and what the company is doing, and in it, the snippet that wound up running, not the first part of his comments, which were about, you know, we want to get this fixed and we're working to make it, you know, to find a solution. The piece that was caught was his statement that nobody wants to get this taken care of and fixed more than he does because he wants his life back. So that quote about him wanting his life back immediately changed the message that he was supposed to be sending to the general public, to the residents of those communities, that instead of, hey, we're here to help, we apologize, this was a horrible thing and we take responsibility and we're working to correct it. Instead it was, this is a huge, awful problem for me and I, you know, can't do it, you know, I can't wait for it to be over so that I can, you know, go on and move on and get back to my life. And you may remember that he also did a number of interviews directly in front of his personal yacht, which also gave an impression that you don't really want to have. So bad communication is out there. Good communication is out there as well. And a lot of times you don't think too much about the good communication because it has done its job. It delivers a clear and an effective message. It's memorable, it's thought-provoking, and you understand. You get what the person is trying to deliver, and so by default you don't pay too much attention to it because it goes through you and you understand it, and therefore, you know, it has been successful. So the clip that we have, and again, I don't know that you'll be able to hear it, unfortunately, is from Mayor Rudy Giuliani after the Twin Towers fell. And I encourage you to actually look up this piece on YouTube, because what is really significant about this piece is that not once does he mention the details of the actual incident. That if you listen to what he was saying, he could have been talking about a subway accident, a bus crash, or a mass shooting, or somebody driving into a parade full of people. While he acknowledges a significant loss of life, he never once gets into the details. So by default, you can look at his statement and wonder exactly how far in advance was his statement prepared, and that he had prepped for this. And this speaks to a little bit of the crisis communications component too, which we'll touch on a little bit later. But he could have been talking about anything, and he was well prepared. And what his comments actually did do was they, conveyed a feeling of sympathy, sorrow, that calmness, that he was in control, and that he was working to address the situation. So you were left feeling like, okay, I got this, and they have a plan in place, and it's being taken care of. So I do encourage you to take some time and look at that, because you want to have something like that in your toolkit ahead of time before something major happens where you need to have it.
Okay, so as we look at communications and how we need to be strategic in the ways we do communicate, and again, we apologize for the videos where we didn't have the audio, but you would see in between those two clips, and if the difference in Mayor Giuliani and the BP CEO, in that Mayor Giuliani was very clear, he was very concise in the message that he delivered. He conveyed that sense of calmness. There was really no ambiguity in what he had to say, whereas in the Hayward interview, it's like, okay, what was the message that he wanted to convey? We know what we walked away with, and he wanted his life back. But again, to be clear, concise in your communications, and then obviously if it's in the written word, to be grammatically correct. Obviously, we all make an impression on those around us, and as we're representing companies, organizations, we are sending a message about those organizations. So if we're putting things out there that are grammatically incorrect or not very well written, then that sends a message, a very poor message about those companies. It also raises a question about our company's legitimacy. Are we legitimate or not? How professional are we? The sense of professionalism. Are we articulate in the way we communicate? Again, grammatically correct. All of those things speak to an organization's image. And then certainly addressing the 5 W's and the H. The who, what, when, where, why, and then also the how. That's something that across a number of different communications platforms that we're going to look at, and the number of different audiences that we're communicating to and with, we need to keep in mind that we're addressing all of these key points. So here we'll look at the various audiences that we do communicate with. And again, everything from media relations, employee relations, shareholder, governmental, community, internal, external, investor, and customer service. Organizations, companies communicate to a wide range of audiences. And at some point, you're going to communicate with most likely with all of these audiences. When you do that is going to be determined by the nature of the situation at hand. So let's say, for example, if there's a company that will be implementing a series of layoffs, it's going to affect hundreds of jobs in the area. Well, most likely, you will be communicating with all of those audiences, because you're certainly going to need to communicate with your employees through HR about what it is that's taking place, why this is happening, how many will be impacted. You're going to need to communicate to your investors, to your shareholders, those who have a stake in the company, who have a vested interest as to the nature of the situation. Certainly with the community, with your neighbors, the town, the city in which you're located, state as well. Your local elected officials, with legislative, it could be something where could something possibly be prevented through some type of legislative action that you need to try to work those legislative those relationships. And then certainly with the media. We talked about the media being that mouthpiece for your organization. We talked about building up that bank of goodwill so that if and when something like that does happen, then you have a strong relationship with the media to help convey that message and get the word out. So again, that would be an example where you would, at one time, you would need to engage all of these audiences. So strategic thinking, also looking at how it can ensure effectiveness. So we've looked at the different types of audiences that we communicate to, but in doing that, here are some very important questions that we need to ask ourselves as we move forward in this communication. So first of all, what is your company's brand? What is your company's image? Oftentimes folks think, well, brand or image, that's our logo, or that's our slogan. Well, that helps make up your brand and your image, but that's not the end-all be-all. What is it that sets your company apart from the competition? What are those key distinctives that provide that separation between the two? What are the distinctives in terms of the products that you offer, the services that you offer? What is your company's personality? And what is it that your company values? What is it that your company has set forth for its customers as expectations? What are the expectations that your customers have of you? And what is the public's perception of your brand image? Are you upholding what you say you're going to do in terms of the quality of products that you claim to provide, the service that you offer? Is that on par? Or are there some shortcomings? Also, what is your again? Who is the audience that you're communicating to? Are you communicating internally, externally, both? Are you communicating to your vendors, your suppliers? Are you communicating to legislators, the media? All of those things need to come into your thinking. And then, what is your message? Are you promoting a new product, a new service? Are you celebrating a 100th anniversary year, a milestone anniversary? Are you looking to expand your operations to a new area, a new territory, new community? And if so, do you need to work some relationships with, again, elected officials to win their support so that they can also be ambassadors for you to make that happen?
And then, again, just back looking at your, one thing I left out on your audience, are you looking at, again, customers, potential customers, local community, and then looking at what's the best way to reach those audiences? Is it going to be, do you need to do that through the media? And if so, is that through mainstream media, or is that through your trade industry media? You know, do you need to use, is it the Herald Courier, or is it looking at, you know, shoe salesman today? I don't know, but just something out there that's read by your business audience. You know, who is it that you're trying to move the needle with?